Welcome back, everyone. We've got a really fascinating explainer for you today. We're unpacking a paper by Dr. Avinash Kumar Gupta from July 2026, and it looks at a massive, profound shift in how we might train the next generation of doctors. We are exploring the Vibe Rounds framework, which is essentially a system designed to completely transform how medical students interact with artificial intelligence. Let's get right into it.
So think about this for a second. What actually happens when an AI is too smart for its own good? It sounds kind of crazy, right? But when it comes to education, the stakes are incredibly high. The paradox of modern AI is that it's fundamentally designed to be helpful, to just hand you the answer as quickly and efficiently as possible. But in a clinical learning environment, an overly helpful AI literally short-circuits the learning process. I mean, if it just hands you the diagnosis, it completely robs you of the mental struggle you need to actually learn how to be a doctor.
Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to cover the medical education bottleneck, the AI over-answering problem, persona prompts in Vibe Rounds, the 10 behavioral constraints, case bench and level bench, and finally, limits and future research.
Section 1. The medical education bottleneck.
Let's set the stage with a very real, very exhausting problem facing attending physicians in hospitals everywhere right now. For generations, the absolute gold standard in bedside teaching has been Socratic questioning. You know the drill. It's about pressing a learner to actually justify their reasoning. Why rank one diagnosis over another? What specific lab result would make you totally abandon your primary theory? This method is highly effective, specifically because it forces active retrieval and justification, not just passively absorbing facts from a textbook.
But here's the brutal reality of the modern hospital. Socratic teaching is incredibly expensive. And I don't mean in dollars, I mean in time and cognitive load. It demands an attending physician's sustained, undivided attention, and with growing cohort sizes and wildly compressed schedules, this vital, intensive style of mentorship, it's almost always the first casualty. There just simply isn't enough time in the day.
Section 2. The AI over-answering problem. So you might be thinking, well, let's just use conversational AI to fill that gap. Makes sense, right? But the tech solution really hasn't been a silver bullet. This quote from the source material hits the nail on the head. A naive chat session with a general-purpose assistant usually behaves like an eager first-year student, handing over a complete answer on request. Think about how sticky that analogy is. Giving away the answer is the exact opposite of a Socratic exchange. A great teacher doesn't just hand you the solution, they make you work for it. The contrast here is super clear. General AI answers quickly and completely, while Socratic AI presses for justification and actively withholds answers. Standard chatbots fail at pedagogy because their default programming is just so subservient and instantly gratifying. They completely bypass the cognitive struggle a medical student needs to develop real clinical reasoning. Section 3. Persona prompts in Vibe Rounds. So how do we fix this without spending millions to retrain massive language models from scratch? We use the Vibe Rounds framework. This is a public library of plain text prompts released under a Creative Commons license designed to reprogram that overly eager AI. If you look at the whole pedagogical spectrum, from traditional lecture all the way to independent research, Vibe Rounds doesn't bother with lecturing. Its primary home base is right there in the middle, the Socratic stage, where the instructor acts as a questioner to stress test critical thinking. It also reaches a bit into guided discovery through tiered hints and extends into research mentorship. It knows exactly what educational niche it's trying to fill. The foundational layer of this framework is the persona prompt. These are literally just copy-pastable text commands. You might choose a supportive intern persona for gentle peer help or a Socratic attending to really turn up the heat. By simply pasting this persona into a chat before introducing a clinical scenario, say a patient with chest pain after a long flight, it nudges the generic AI to completely change its posture. Instead of just blurting out pulmonary embolism, it'll stop, look at the user, and demand to know why pulmonary embolism should be ranked first. Section 4. The 10 behavioral constraints. Now, just a persona isn't quite enough to stop a stressed, tired student from tricking the AI into giving the answer. So Vibe Rounds layers on heavy-duty rules. What's really interesting about these guardrails is the sheer weight of them. The AI requires forced commitment first, meaning you have to offer a guess before getting any help. It uses tiered hints, never giving the full answer up front. And then there's the delayed rescue, the 10-second rule. The system is instructed to deliberately pause and just let the silence hang. It forces the learner to sit in the discomfort of not knowing, pushing them to keep reasoning instead of expecting an instant digital rescue. Digging a bit deeper into this instructional architecture,
If a student just types, "I don't know," a minimum effort threshold kicks in, and the AI gently redirects them to make a real attempt. If they give a highly detailed, reasoned response, effort-weighted assistance ensures they get deeper, tailored teaching in return. And crucially, the AI is instructed that reasoning is graded. It evaluates the logic, the prioritization, and the acknowledged uncertainty of the student, not just whether the final diagnosis was right or wrong. It's forcing a genuine cognitive struggle.
Section 5. Case bench and level bench. So, how do we actually use this abstract prompt engineering in the real world? The beauty of Case Bench Lite is its utter simplicity as a browser-based application. Step 1, choose your model provider and plug in your own API key. The key stays local to your browser, never hitting a centralized server, which brilliantly bypasses major institutional data privacy hurdles. Step 2, paste in your clinical vignette or upload a file. Step 3, run the live Socratic exchange. You can literally go from landing on the page to a full pedagogical AI session in under a minute. Then there's the companion tool Level Bench. This takes the static framework of Vibrowns and turns it into a live adjustable dial. It exposes a 6-level difficulty ladder, ranging from level 1, which offers supportive scaffolding for early learners, all the way up to level 6, which simulates adversarial examination-style rigor. And the best part? The user controls this dial directly. Comparing the two tools is pretty interesting. CaseBench Lite optimizes for the absolute fastest start at a single, fixed difficulty. LevelBench, however, allows an educator or a self-guided student to escalate or lower the difficulty mid-conversation. You can start at level 1 to build a basic framework, and once the student commits to an answer, crank it right up to level 5 to stress test their logic. And you do all this without losing the chat history or reasoning trail you've already established.
Section 6, Limits and Future Research. Now, as brilliant as all this sounds, we have to stay totally objective about where this tech actually stands today. The source material is very candid about its disclaimers. Vibrowns is currently in instructional design. It's an early-stage prompt architecture. It is absolutely not yet a clinically validated outcome. There is no control data presented yet proving that this definitively improves student performance compared to traditional methods. Furthermore, because it relies on large language models, generative outputs will inevitably vary between runs. The authors are incredibly clear here. This is strictly for educational, sandbox use, never for actual live clinical decision-making. But to help bridge that gap from a cool theoretical design to actual validated educational utility, both CaseBench Lite and LevelBench feature a privacy-conscious opt-in mechanism. Users can optionally submit their anonymized chat transcripts at the end of a session. No names, no API keys, just the back-and-forth educational exchange. The creators are using this grassroots approach to slowly build a future research data set for Socratic teaching, allowing them to eventually study and validate these methods at scale. Which brings us to the end of our explainer. I want to leave you with a pretty provocative thought to ponder. We've seen how Vibrowns engineers behavioral constraints to stop an AI from being too helpful. But if AI can be successfully trained to withhold the answer for the sake of pedagogy, what other nuanced human teaching instincts can we engineer next? The implications for the future of education are just massive. Thank you for joining me, everyone, and I'll see you in the next explainer.